What's going on, YouTube? Lord of Houston coming at you with a video known as LTH 713 Space City. We in the building. All right, Super Bowl is now over with, and the off season is officially here. The long off season, and once again, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks on winning that Lombardi, handling their business against the New England Patriots. You know, and of course, I gotta shout out Sam Dog, the infamous Brandon Rogers, Primo, Seahawks Eddie, and PCG Megan. Shout out to y'all. Y'all clearly earned it. I know y'all still celebrating, but hey, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I do the same thing if my Texans were to win the Lombardi, which just unfortunate they didn't, thanks to sloppy offensive play. That ain't the case. So congrats and shout out to y'all. Now, what I want to talk about is, want to give my real thoughts about a certain quarterback in CJ Stroud, Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV, better known as CJ Stroud, most likely going into his make or break fourth year in the NFL. And before I give my honest thoughts, I always thankful for his 2023 rookie campaign. Yeah, he had his share of struggles, as a rookie, his share of rookie mistakes. But at the end of the day, always thankful for what he did in 2023. I can understand Baltimore, getting beat by them twice in one season, both by double digits, at the hands of Lamar Jackson, who went on to, win his second MVP along with falling short against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, since his rookie year, like everyone's been talking about, hasn't been the same, since he spent the last two seasons chasing his rookie success. I can understand, the offensive line not being built strong enough, getting pushed around. But at the same time, there is no excuse to why CJ Stroud was getting sacked like crazy, along with turning the ball over excessively. Especially this year's playoffs, when he had 7 of the 8 Texans turnovers, which doomed the Texans in that New England Patriots game. Yeah, Texans had their opportunities, to punch it in for 6, but, the red zone troubles did the man. And I gotta say, Texans, yeah, there was a multitude of things. I don't understand that, but Houston wasn't, 2 scooping scores away from going to their AFC Championship game for the first time. But as far as Stroud, though, the last 2 years, I just feel that he could have done a lot better. For example, if he sees something he didn't like, change up the play, for example. And also, could have done a better job of making better decisions, such as, either throwing the ball away or, hell, even take a sack and live to play another down, instead of just trying to do that hero ball crap, which put the Texans in very messed up situations, for sure. Something Stroud got to work on going forward, including his mental toughness, that also played a role of why he couldn't, lead the Texans offense when it mattered. And yeah, the injury bug once again bit the Texans in the behind, but not using that as an excuse to why they couldn't get over the hump in 2025 and then even 2024 for sure, which is last. But yeah, but mental toughness, definitely got to be addressed, because anytime a bad play happen, he be so far up in his head, man. It's not even funny. And I gotta say, his mental weakness, and sloppy play pissed off a lot of Texans fans, including myself. Cause man, why? I mean, seeing C.J. Stroud, man, watching him play was brutal, man. I mean, like, man, had a lot of fans sick to their stomach. I mean, not being able to extend plays, with it, either with his arm or with his legs. I mean, I know he's looked at as a pocket passer, but at the same time, man, I just felt like he could have, read the blitzes a lot better, which, can also come back to haunt not just Stroud, but any quarterback because of their inability to read defenses, including the blitzes, because that can turn out to be any quarterback's soft spot when it comes to their inabilities of reading the blitzes, but read the blitzes and whatnot. But chasing 2 years, lack of protection, lack of confidence too. That's another thing that has me worried about Stroud. His confidence hasn't been the same. Ever since they started having film on Stroud, you know, people, opposing defenses have been able to adjust and, make Stroud one dimensional, to be exact. And I understand, the coaches around him, the offensive coaches, the OCs, being, what are they teaching him? First year play callers when, Stroud could be having an experienced, effective play caller, including some of the play callers I would like for the Texans to use, such as, example, Clint Kubiak, who's with the Raiders, Brian Dable, who's with the Titans as OC. Hell, even Cliff Kingsbury as OC. I would have been cool with that. But, it's, but not to mention, I ain't gonna lie. Has me, I'll say Stroud has shown flashes of what he's capable of. I'll say that. But at the same time, even with the bad offensive line play and the play callers, there's no excuse for his regression. I know he's still a young buck, and yeah, he's still learning, but doesn't change the fact that the way he's regressing is no goddamn excuse at all. Yeah, I've seen other quarterbacks regress, after some good years, part of that could be key injuries such as, lower leg injuries or even concussions. Even concussions could mess up a player's mental aspect, because knowing that Stroud has suffered 2 concussions in his career. But at the same time, like I just said, he has shown flashes what he's capable of, especially when the pressure is not in his face. But when the pressure happened to get to him, as far as the blitzes, almost instantly fold. Either taking unnecessary sacks or putting the ball in harm's way with that hero ball stuff. But not to mention, do I want to see C.J. Stroud as the long-term answer as the Texans quarterback? Yes, but on some key conditions. Yeah, I would like to see the C.J. Stroud of old, not just in 2023, but also back in his Ohio State days. Yeah, the NFL is a whole different monster compared to college football, but still, he does have some adjusting to do going into the off season, which starts with staying off them damn podcasters and stuff and focus putting in the off season workouts. Which starts with working on his mental toughness, better decision making, and his accuracy, which is also, haven't been the same since his rookie campaign. Confidence in his throws, especially, not just without the pressure, but with pressure incoming in his face. Because no Texans fan want to keep seeing CJ Stroud rattled under pressure, all shaking up his stuff. You're willing to make throws when not under pressure, but then got to be willing to make throws in confident fashion, even with pressure. And that's something Stroud got to address, plus adjust if he hopes to have a bounce back year 4. Hell, even better than his rookie campaign. Yeah, easier said than done, but I just thought I want to throw that out there. Yeah, he's gonna be under another year under Nick Caley, but I mean, some key, add in a few offensive key assistant coaching changes would definitely help Stroud and Nick Caley. But but should he continue how he played, going forward? He can just, it'll be safe to say that, Stroud's time as a Houston Texan is definitely numbered. Hell, even his time's up in Houston if he can't, get his mind right. Because you want to get an extension. It all starts with improving on every aspect, both regular season and postseason going forward. Because 7 turnovers, unacceptable. Can't sustain postseason success. Playing sloppy ball. I mean, that's just the truth. Especially the way the Texans, with the playoffs being wide open this year, which won't be often that the playoffs become extra wide open, going forward. Knowing that the Houston Texans blew their biggest opportunity to not only go to the AFC title game, but also to a Super Bowl in Santa Clara, which I describe it as the biggest travesty in the history of the Houston Texans. I mean, that's just how I look at it, But hopefully, I'm rooting for Stroud to, learn from his mistakes and learn from not just in the postseason, but also, every error he made, and his regression that he's enduring right now. Because, yeah, I'll credit him for protecting the football and the Houston Texans as well, offense as well, protecting the football better in the regular season, but postseason, not so much. Not so damn much. So, but like I said, I'm rooting for CJ Stroud to bounce back come year 4, which will be make or break for Stroud. Because if he continues playing the way he's playing, like I mentioned, probably won't be in a Houston Texans uniform going forward. But as the saying goes, only time will tell. There's going to be some off-season videos coming up too, so be on the lookout for that. So that being said, Lord Houston checking on up out of here. 713 Space City. And I'm out always and forever. Go Houston Texans. I'm out.